I have some really neat stories to share, and I would like you to have similar stories as well. These stories, I'm telling them to encourage you to pursue a spiritual life. That's why I'm sharing them with you. Please don't think that these stories are out of reach to you. They're not. When you follow the spiritual path, these stories will start coming to you. You just can't help it. When I first chose a spiritual path, a teacher fell in my lap almost instantly, and she was a Wiccan, my one of my best friends, au pair, and she taught me some metaphysical concepts, and also taught me a meditation for astral travel. And then I found out that her brand of Wicca, was tied to some dark magic. So I dropped that. But there's always a valuable lesson in every teacher we meet. My experience with her wasn't amazing, but I did learn something valuable. I did. And you gotta respect that every person you meet has something valuable to teach you. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in your life. And don't take my word for it, but figure out what the lesson is that they are there to show you. Because when you learn your lessons, life opens up for you to learn even greater lessons. And the more lessons you learn, the more fun you have here. So, that's the primary reason for sticking to a spiritual path. There are great benefits to sticking to a spiritual path, and one of them is synchronicity. Things just happen to align with your intentions when your intentions are positive. And by positive, I mean in the direction of expansion, and in the direction of greater unconditional love, and in the direction of greater empathy and greater understanding for all life. If that's the trajectory that you choose for yourself, the universe will line up to encourage it, to confirm it, and to make it a little easier. Let's see. Here's a story. I was meditating at home, and in my meditation, I am asking for, what's the next step? What do I do next? Can you please show me a sign for where I should go next? And the thought that came to mind was to go to the bookstore. So at the time, I was living in Philadelphia, and I believe the name of the store is Garland of Letters, if it's still there on South Street. But I lived just a few blocks from there, so I walked over, didn't know what I was doing there, didn't know what I was looking for, but I had been in there before, so I knew they had a lot of good books. Walking up and down the aisles, and literally a book fell off the shelf at my feet, and there was nobody around. There was nobody within 6 or 7 feet of me, and this book right in front of me just fell on the floor. And my first inclination wasn't, oh, that's the universe telling me what book to buy. My first inclination was, oh, I better put that back on the shelf. So I looked around and grabbed it, and when I went to put it back on the shelf, I saw the name of it. That was Bob Frizzell's book, Nothing in This Book is True, which, Bob, naughty you for plagiarizing Trumfalo's work. But it's a story of the Flower of Life, and it's a story of Bob's experience with the Flower of Life workshop. And that workshop's fantastic. So I'm reading, so I buy the book. The name of the book is just like, and it's got the face on Mars on the cover, which I had already heard about Richard Hoagland. So I recognized it right away. Bought the book, took it home, read it. I think I read it that day. And this is how I met my guru. So I'm reading this book, and one of the chapters is about the immortal Christ of India, named Babaji. And that's not actually part of the Flower of Life, but Bob Frizzell had brought that in to share his experience. So there's a picture of Babaji standing on a mountain, and it says that he's immortal. He's 6,000 years old. He appears to people. It's everything I've ever wanted to find in a teacher since I even, since I first realized that I was stuck in a body. And, when I was 5 or whatever. So I'm looking at this picture of Babaji, and I'm reading about him, and I look at the picture and I ask him, is this true? Like, what I'm reading about you, is this really true? And I'm trying to get a feeling in my body, like, because I really want to believe this, And while I'm looking at the picture winked at me, like literally the photograph went with his eye, and I pretty much lost it. I cried for a couple of hours, and it's even got me tearing up now. When that happened, that was my first confirmation that I had been following a good path. And that, was a beginning. That was a beginning, and that was the first in a long series of amazing synchronous experiences. So I'm going to call that my first experience on this path, because that happened, I believe that I was about 25. And until I was 25, my spiritual path, I had like one toe in and the rest of my foot out. So I knew a lot, I pursued a lot, I actually did some training and had done some healing even, but I was not convinced that it had value permanently. So in some cases it felt like a distraction. And of course people, my parents and other people in my life, saw the spiritual path as a distraction. So I did waver for quite a while. But when I saw that picture and it winked at me, all of my doubts went away. And that doesn't mean that, and by all I don't mean 100%, because as you'll find out when you do training and you continue on, that searching for doubt and finding doubt is actually part of the path. So not at 100%. I'm always looking for that last little piece of doubt and looking for where it takes me. Anyhow, I've got a lot more stories to tell, and I really hope that you stick with this. When you realize that what I'm offering you is real, and that I'm not just, making noise with my lips, I encourage you to start taking the online play shop, because no matter what workshop you would like to do with me or what accomplishment you would like to achieve spiritually, the first step is contained within that play shop. And it's not because I did it. It's more fundamental than that. It's you have to gain control of your imagination in order for your imagination to stop throwing your old suffering at you. And when you're free of that, then you can start pursuing true spiritual knowledge. Until then, any spiritual knowledge you find will become another excuse to suffer. And, suffering's overrated. It's time to let it go. Let's just be done with it. And I will see you on the other side. Do that workshop. And if you have any troubles with it, send in your questions. Thank you.